Daria, as she's nodding, and
Yeah, sure.
yeah, and then Tamara, and let's take it from there.
Thank you for inviting me to this live. So my name is Daria Collard. I'm a B2B marketeer with more than 7 years of experience. I worked with different types of companies, startup, but also large corporations in a variety of industries, but always in B2B marketing roles. And I always had a kind of diverse roles, so covering social media marketing, content, running ABM campaigns, webinars, event marketing, etc. So I definitely would say that B2B marketing is not boring. It's fun, and you learn a lot. I'm based in Stockholm, and I'm actually, aside from my current role, I'm also ambassador at Grammarly. So I've been using this tool for a long time, and yes, I'm ambassador of this tool.
That's
Love
really
it.
cool. And the content riser user, not
Yes.
ambassador, but that's great. Over to you,
I couldn't
Tamara.
spell. I couldn't spell without Grammarly, so
Yeah.
that's such a diverse experience. I'm a little bit jealous. Hi, I'm Tamara, and thank you for having me on this webinar. So I have been in marketing for over 16 years now. Most of my experience comes from startup arena, but I did have a little bit of a stint into an enterprise tech companies before. I absolutely freaking love startups. I wouldn't leave it for the world, to be honest. My specialty is in B2B SaaS. And I have in my previous, I think, 8 years, I've been leading marketing teams for Markup, which a lot of people know and use and love, and Uscreen, a video monetization company. So yes, I have. I'm right now consulting. I'm helping companies, B2B SaaS companies, find the right levers to pull for growth. And that can be anything from figuring out the right channel to attract the right audience and figuring out how to bring them into the platform, activate them, prevent churn, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's me in short. Unfortunately, I'm not an ambassador, but I do have an ambassador underneath my table. My dog is sleeping there, so if you hear any weird noises, I do apologize.
It's the animal world ambassador. Ladies, you have like such an amazing experience and such a broad spectrum of everything what you've done and what you do. What do you enjoy the most? Because it's quite broad, right? So you mentioned social media, thought leadership, all the different like growth channels and tactics. If you could pick maybe just like, I don't know, two each, top two favorites each, what would you go for right now? What do you enjoy the most?
I enjoy, well, PLG as a go-to market. So everything that PLG entails, that's really my wheelhouse. And I especially enjoy the web side of optimization. So I'm a little bit geeky, a little bit technical. So I really, really love that stuff.
Yeah, I would choose social media marketing. So I've been coordinating social media presence on different channels, and I find it exciting to adapt content to the needs of the platform, and specifically LinkedIn, of course, and event marketing. So I've been working in event marketing and creating interesting touch points with people, interesting experience activation points. Yeah, I really love that very much.
Yeah, which leads us to our today's agenda. It's a nice bridge to talk about personal branding for founders of startups, as you mentioned, especially Tamara, you're a big startup fan, but also within the corporate setup. So personal branding and thought leadership for founder-led sales, for employee advocacy, how to leverage LinkedIn for it. Um, it's I guess it could be also tied into product-led growth sometimes to
Oh,
kind
absolutely.
of yeah. Tell me more about your experiences. Maybe let's start with like personal branding and thought leadership for like both employee advocacy and founders or like CEOs. What have you seen? What's working? What's not? It sounds like easy. Just start posting something on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
even if it's
Yeah,
not your main job. Yeah.
I would definitely start by pointing out how I see that the role of social media managers in companies changed throughout the last years. If before the role was clearly to manage only company accounts, so create content for the official company channels, now it's more and more encompasses also supporting the team with thought leadership content, and more the company channels get low engagement and people have higher engagement, higher trust. So it comes from building thought leadership programs within company, or even leveraging your teams for ad hoc projects like to promote upcoming webinar or event participation. It's just proven that when it comes from people, the engagement is higher, the invitations resonate more, registrations are higher. So even for ad hoc things, it definitely proved to be very efficient tool. But of course, it's also social selling has been proven to be very efficient instrument to build relationship with your prospects, get in front of their eyes, gain their trust, share your expertise, and make you familiar, and make them eventually warm up towards you, your product, and choose you. And it can come in all shapes or forms. So primarily, I would say in companies, sales teams have programs. But if we talk about startups, I would definitely say it's CEOs and leadership teams as well. It's quite common that most news, most updates come from CEO. That's why people follow. That's why people want to know firsthand. So you build this trust, you build the face of the company communications channel coming from the founder. So it's so important to support the founder and the leadership team with that.
Yes.
Tamara, I'm pretty sure you have experience in a
I
startup
have
with
I
that.
have just I have to just shout out to Pablo for his comment. That is very true. So I think, and I love, Daria, that you kicked this off, because I have to admit that I have a love-hate relationship with social media in general,
Mm,
especially with LinkedIn. As somebody who has been in-house for most of my career, even when I was working as a consultant before, I still worked under a brand. So this is honestly, like, this last year has been the first time that I had my personal brand all to myself as I see it in my head. I see social media as something that I used to fear as somebody who worked in house. Because whenever you are a leader, even if you're a team leader, you don't have to be even in a C level. But even if you're representing something, you're representing the voice of the company. It comes with huge responsibility to also align your personal brand, the things that you're putting out there, and your everything, your thoughts, the tone of voice, the imagery that you're put out there needs to be aligned with this higher thing, which is the company branding. Unfortunately, most of the companies that I worked with, collaborated with, consulted, um, when I came there, they didn't have any type of guideline at the beginning.
mm,
So there was no internal content guideline, even for blogs, even though they were writing blogs for years. So even if, when you consider that they didn't have the guideline for something so core to their strategy as a content guideline, you can imagine how far they were from creating something for social media. So, from my experience, something unfortunately happens here, which I think is completely fixable. And I know that I spoke to Daria a little bit about that. So, I'm sure that you're going to be able to say this more eloquently than I can. But it's having the employees active on LinkedIn can absolutely be massively beneficial to companies. But at the same time, if you do it clumsily, if you do it without a proper structure, proper guidance, and proper support and freedom, it can actually backfire, and it can actually push your employees away from doing anything that has to do with social media. So I think that there is a fine line between setting up any type of advocacy program in house, and then having the people actually participate it's kind of like if you're in B2B SaaS, it's kind of like user activation. You need to activate your employees to be
Mm.
active
Mm.
on social media, especially on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say um, because it's so important that people still stay who they are and they still, in the end of the day, show their personality. So they don't become just a communication channel for the company content. Because in the end of the day, we all know these people on LinkedIn who just repost something from company, and I don't think
Mm.
we are all very engaged with that, right? You don't see the personality, you don't see their perspective, expertise, why they share it actually, what's so important. So, yes, you are free to leverage company content, but in the end of the day, you are building your professional brand. So think of all your experiences, all the learnings, mistakes that you can use for content. Or another tip for sales teams, if you think back about the deal making, what was specific topic or question that made the person make a decision to buy from you? What was that specific value you mentioned, or what played a difference, made a difference in this decision making? And this can be also a topic for your content. Yeah, so staying to yourself, staying to who you are. Don't forget to share your view. And of
Mhm.
course, yeah, having your personal brand opens so many doors, so many opportunities. I mean, you connect with different people. Like right now, we're here because we're all connected on LinkedIn. So you connect with peers, you connect with people in the same or different industries, different countries. You can always jump on a call, meet them, learn from them, share something with them. Maybe you will learn about new job opportunities or presentation opportunities or yeah, sales opportunities. I would say this opportunity to connect with people who you don't have a chance to know personally. This is such a benefit from of LinkedIn.
Yeah, 100%. And if I can just add one thing, if you have seen my profile picture that's tied to this LinkedIn Live event, that's
Yes.
me,
What is it?
the
What is it?
yellow alien.
Yes.
So there's a story behind it. I could have never done it if I wasn't kind of a freelancer or free
Yeah.
from corporate
Let's see the picture.
construct right now.
Mm.
So I think that there's a lot of fear in all of us when we're starting to first post on LinkedIn. If you
It
have a
is. It's
personality,
great.
thank you. If you have a
It
personality
inspired
that
me to do their. It's a bit fun, and yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
If you have a personal brand that's a little bit out there and you would like to push the boundaries, I would strongly suggest to consult somebody in the
Mm.
company first, because maybe the imagery that you're putting out there is not aligned with the vision that they would have for anybody who's working with the company. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, I would say, because the company can't really ask you to do something on social media unless it's in
Mm.
your contract, like in very fine detail. But at the same time, you want to be fair and you don't want to do anything that's insulting or that's going against the grain with the company. So especially if I was in a customer facing role, of course I couldn't have an alien in my profile
Mm.
picture. So I would say that if you want to stay true to yourself, absolutely go ahead. But if that staying true to yourself goes beyond the boundaries of what's considered conventional, maybe consult internal team first just to make sure that you're aligned.
Yeah, it's a good tip to check in general with internal communications, if there are any regulations, any don'ts,
Hmm.
something that you shouldn't share, for example, internal only content, how you can differentiate where you can find that. I think it's important, small nuances, but they can really make a difference. Not to
Hmm.
share any sensitive information and to be confident when you share something that you can do that. Mm.
Yeah, and I think there is a broad spectrum depending on if you work for startup or for large corporate. Also, is it a highly regulated industry with
Absolutely.
secrets
Mhm.
that you cannot reveal, like crazy NDA policies, or is it a
Mhm.
startup with 10 people? But I think their common kind of hashtag or keyword is like stay playful. And when we were preparing this session, you both mentioned gamification and
Mhm.
the role that gamification can play in successfully kind of establishing this employee advocacy or like
Mhm.
personal brand building within the startup. Can you comment on that? Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like gamification
Sorry, you want to go
leaderboards,
first?
like how, yeah, there was like
Yeah.
I really like those
No.
case studies. I think they apply to both, to like startups and bigger
Mhm.
companies, and that's really cool. Mm,
No, I would say in general, if there is some support from marketing or from within the company to employees, to sales team or other teams in being present on LinkedIn, it's important to understand that there isn't much effort on their side, because if in the beginning they hear, oh, you need to post regularly and comment and be active and profile, and they can get overwhelmed and maybe do it for a few weeks and then it will kind of die out. So it's really important to start small. Maybe even a good tip is to define your champions in the company who are already active, who already have high engagement, and start with them, or look at any learnings they can provide to other team members, and then scale more. So start with people who are already active, add a bit more people, keep supporting them, and then keep adding. Because if you start with a big group, especially who are not that familiar yet with the platform, not yet comfortable with posting, then it would really be a lot of effort. But it's usually better to start small and scale it. And gamification, meaning, yeah, for example, you can choose a LinkedIn leader of the month who posted more. Depending on the metrics, you can define it yourself, maybe a number of posts or number of engagements, number of comments, or number of new connections they had, and they get some fun prize. I've done it in the past, and I think it's very fun.
mm.
And
What was the
kind of,
price?
well, it was prize. It was some, yeah, drink or something small, but something incentive for people to remind them of competition going on.
Yes, and my experience is very similar. The programs that I've seen work the best are the programs that empower people who are already curious about this to
Mm,
actually leverage, for example, LinkedIn as a channel. I also have seen a lot of programs flop just because the teams that were set up for this LinkedIn engagement, they had no access to internal resources. They
mm,
had no access to social media manager, to the content team, and they would essentially get just like a copy paste dry yucky post that they're going to plaster, like 30 people posting exactly the same thing, and then those same 30 people just interacting with each other. That doesn't really do anything because anybody can see that it's just the company people who interacted with the
yeah.
post, right? So you don't really want to fake it that much. Of course, you
Mm,
want to kind of help them create a little pod for them to feel comfortable, but you don't want to fake it too much. And the best programs that I've seen really skyrocket is that you have somebody from the higher management, somebody from the upper management, whether it's going to be a head of department or
mm,
VP or C level somebody who actually leads the battle, so to say,
yeah.
and empowers people to build their own online credibility for their own sake. So it's kind of positioned as you are spending this time as an investment in
Mm,
your future as well. So it's not just, hey, do this for the company. It's kind of do this for yourself and the company benefits.
yes.
Unfortunately,
Mm,
in cases where I've seen this doesn't work, is where actually the company doesn't understand how to use LinkedIn as a channel or how
mm,
social selling works in general. And they do think that social selling, the exit is in selling versus the social. So,
Mm.
so that mindset needs to shift before you even try to roll out a program like this. Otherwise, it's just going to flop.
Yeah, I agree. I would also add here that it's very important to manage expectations of the team and to say that it's long game. We don't expect people to buy after one post, even after three posts, even after five posts. So it will be 3, 6, maybe 12 months. Don't get frustrated or don't send personal messages after three posts about with your sales pitch. Be patient. It takes time. It takes time
Mhm.
that maybe in the beginning there won't be much engagement, but it doesn't mean that relevant people didn't see your post. Maybe it will take time for them to start
Mhm.
engaging with it, just being consistent and patient with it. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
you
think.
reminded me of something, if I can just interject really quickly. If I would start a program from grounds up today, considering the saturation of LinkedIn that we're seeing in the past month, for example, and it does go in cycle, right? Sometimes it's like goes down and all of a
Mm,
sudden there's like 5,000 new people in your feed. If I
mhm,
was to start this program today, I might opt in to actually teach people how to comment properly versus
Yes.
post properly. So, kind of
Yes.
focus
mm.
on identifying the content to engage with and leave posting for a later date once they kind of build that LinkedIn muscle, so to say.
Yeah, agree. Agree. And I also
Yeah.
agree with your point of instead of blasting the same message, that it's tailored. It's really
Mm,
important that even if there is one company news, for example, the whole team is announcing that each and every team member tailors it to their audience, to their specific department or role, to their personality. Yeah, so that it's not the general message everybody reshares, like you mentioned.
Yeah, that's a nice segue to the topic of content repurposing,
Mm.
profiles with different tone of voices, and I guess coordination. So this is something we are offering with our tool, where people can log in, create different profiles for the company, for different personal brands they want to build, and then easily re-edit, repurpose the same message for each individual in the respective tone of voice.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say
Because
content repurposing is a very important topic because there is a limit of what you can create, and it's a myth that everybody has already seen it. Maybe they've seen it very quickly
mm,
but didn't really read it. So repurposing the same content is totally fine. Trying to find different angles, make it into carousel post, make it into a longer text post or shorter text post, play with formats and don't be afraid to repeat the same content.
100%. And I think we underestimate in general how much content we actually have. So it's not necessarily just repurposing and reusing the content, it's also about upcycling content.
Mm.
So you can be very creative in how you use the content. The main point that I would like to make, which is another thing that I know that Content Radar does really well, is actually using something and making it very easy for the person to actually receive something that's an output that's
Mm.
usable. Because one of the biggest blockers from my experience has always been when it comes to repurposing and kind of even adjusting content was that it takes actual time. So if anybody is
mm.
not super enthusiastic about posting on LinkedIn, they're not
Mm.
going to necessarily find that
Or
extra
lacking
5 minutes to
ideas,
edit.
yeah, inspiration, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm.
So if you have a podcast, you can repurpose it into visual content and textual content, and
Mm.
listicles, Twitter threads. I do not call it text; it's Twitter.
Mm.
Twitter threads. And if you have a visual content, you can actually turn it into whatever you want. You can turn it into text, you can turn it into sliders. So you don't have to think about the content repurposing linearly. You can also kind of combine multiple pieces of content into one. So it's really a gift that keeps on giving. And I think that we all always underestimate the amount of content we have. Just look through your feed and you're going to be inspired.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, feel free to check out our tool for that, for the shortcuts. If there is like not enough time or inspiration, if LinkedIn is not your main job, but your main job is sales or marketing or leading the company. I think it's also interesting that it's called social selling. I think modern selling, it's like establishing trust and growing your network. And I think a successful LinkedIn strategy is a combination of consistent content, new one, like jumping on trends, speaking about the future, speaking about the insights, but also upcycling successful content evergreen, and then a combination of strategic outreach, so growing your network, commenting and engaging with other people's and companies' posts that are relevant to your industry, and then at some point establishing a dialogue and like ultimately selling. It's business, it's about the transactions, but first of all you have to build trust, and especially in the world of remote work, like people have to know you or have a feeling that they know you, that you are knowledgeable, that they trust you. We have so as it's like a bit of a like April Fool's Day edition, and we started talking about like being playful and gamification. We have Chris Branch, who repurposed Tamara's profile. It's quite cute into the beat.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, are you guys friends? Or well, now you are, I guess. Thanks, Chris. Shout out. Yeah, and then we are going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. I don't know if there are any comments. I will try to see in our LinkedIn live chat, because it's a bit weird with the streaming. If there are any questions to Tamara, Daria, and myself. If not, we can also take them async and answer them in the comments, like below the stream. I can't see any. Chris Branch.
Oh, Chris, I can't wait to post it on the. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, so it's great. We have new friends, old friends, content repurposing. We discussed gamification, employee advocacy within large organizations and small ones, and how to use LinkedIn for business, but also for advancing your own career and growing your own brand, and how we should do it and how we should be supportive of our team members doing so. Thanks so much for being here with me and sharing your expertise. I look forward to repurposing this video and pushing out some nuggets in the next few weeks. And to fruitful collaborations in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.